Hello everybody and welcome back to the final episode of Kiseiju or Parasyte the Maxim. Yes, it is the final episode indeed. It's time to conclude our story. There aren't really that many storylines, or any for that matter, any storylines left hanging, so there's not really all that many things to resolve. However, of course, the epilogue will be rather important to see how our main character's life will continue from this point onwards, especially considering that he kind of did save the world and he has, well, the parasites have been neutralized and he can now go on living his natural life, even though he has a parasite still for an arm. So there are a few questions left unanswered, but those will possibly be answered here. There's few things that this epilogue can resolve, and there are a few things that it can enlighten us about. So let's just start properly and see where it goes. That actually already leads into a point that whether all of the parasites were executed or not. So that actually is kind of an allusion to that most likely not some parasites still do live, but they are more accustomed to human society from this point onwards. So that's an interesting point to bring up, that there still do exist those, but they are more, well, camouflaged and more accustomed to human society. So they are becoming more human. That's an interesting point there. Means that there is still an ever-present danger, so to say, but it isn't really anything cataclysmic in proportions, at the very least. Interesting, a final goodbye. There is actually potential possibility that Migi might actually just go dormant, completely, which really would be a really clean way to solve all of the issues and let Shinichi live his life normally, even though he has been permanently altered by the, shall we say, quite the life-changing experience with Migi. So, but the fact that I don't know what's going to happen, but it's possible that Migi might either go dormant or commit kind of off himself. Although the dormant option seems more likely. Yeah, as I expected. Interesting. So it's kind of, Migi is going to be lost in thought, quite literally, actually. That is an interesting way to say to, remove yourself from the world. It's just going into permanent state or semi-permanent stasis and just commit yourself completely to just thinking. That's, or at the very least, that's kind of the implication that I'm getting from that he's going to, just for the rest of the days just spend time thinking in a dormant state. That's an interesting way. That is an interesting little send-off note there, that it's more likely now to, have traffic accident than running into a parasite again, because the rest of the parasites are apparently going to be far more careful and far more passive, so to say, so that they are not gonna show up anymore anytime soon, or ever again, possibly. It's an interesting note. Now, apparently Shinichi does remember quite a few things. That's certainly different, at the very least slightly so. I mean, the departure is certainly rather hard, because in the end, Shinichi did grow really to think of Migi as a comrade, as a friend. So it's certainly that departure and that them not meeting again is it's a rather hard thing to, come to terms with. So the pain is understandable. I do wonder what kind of physical alterations, whether they're physical alterations from, you know, Miggy saving, or from Miggy, how permanent those actually will be, or whether, like, they could really be, you know, permanent alterations. It really easily is, it is possible that Shinichi is, like, permanently going to be human, even though Miggy has decided to go dormant for now, so Shinichi is actually going to possibly be a parasite for the rest of his life, at least partially. I mean, considering that it only gave good, like it had good outcomes for him, like enhancing his physical attributes, it's not that bad of a trade-off. Well, this is suddenly, at the very least, I'm getting a really good vibe out of this, which is a really good ending, or at the very least, the conclusion here is at the very least being very much something that I appreciate quite a bit more than the sentiment of the evils of humanity and all that sort of thing, and which is the just how hard it is to understand other people and other forms of life and all that. The difficulty of comprehension of other organisms. That's certainly quite a bit more interesting and a bit of a different message, and certainly I appreciate it far more than the cliched message. That's a pretty good sign at the very least. So I do like it. It's different. It's a good message. It's unique and it's pretty well thought out. Quite like it. Like, okay, there's just quite a lot of, like, actually pretty good messages here that I can really get behind. Like the current one on the stage here, that there's no point in despising humans by human standards, because that doesn't really make sense to despise humans just because they are acting for self-gratification. And the fact that people are being really, in a manner of speaking, selfish by taking care of environment and other animals and other creatures and even to a certain extent other humans, and that is all done for self-gratification to a certain extent. That's actually a pretty good message, because it is spun in here. The message is kind of given here in a way that it isn't really evil to do so, or it is not even bad, because it's just, even though it's done for self-gratification, it's mutually beneficial, so it's a good message. Even though this is done through text or vocals made, probably, so it's even though they are telling this message instead of showing, it's overall quite a good message, even though it is kind of not really, it's really very loosely connected to the series, to the show itself, but it is connected at the very least. It's a good message, or these messages are pretty good, so it's I just don't want the final message to be the evils of humanity, so I'm just glad that they are having a good message here instead of they have a better message here. That's that okay. I can get behind that. That's I know I'm pausing a lot because these are really good messages. So there's a lot of things that can be quoted from this final episode that are actually pretty good life lessons, and I can really get behind this. It's not bad. It's not bad. Even though it's very loosely connected to the series, still, it is actually connected, since the parasites were kind of that one guy whose name I can't remember kind of proselytized by saying that parasites are the apex predator that will rid Earth of the plague that is called humanity. So having this message here is actually really good. So yeah, I approve. Oh! Oh! I completely forgot about that murderer! That's... that insane guy, that, you know, that crazy guy who had the ability to sense parasites. We completely forgot about him. Or at least I did. There's... Yeah, there's still something unresolved here. I completely forgot about that.
Yeah.
Okay, perhaps they didn't need to go make it that obvious. There's... well, we do still have one final conflict for the series at the very least, so at the very least the final episode is not going to be complete, like, there's still half of the episode left. I was wondering how they would fill this up. Time. Oh! That's pretty accurate attack, you know? That's nice. Well... I was actually expecting him to let them go, but... he is a psychopath, so... okay, well, this is... there is tension. It's quite the mood whiplash, I must say. Yeah, suspicious mark. Yeah, there is certainly something suspicious about Shinichi, you don't say. That scar is rather unnatural. Mostly because it's kind of a... like, that's not natural scar tissue, so... it's just kind of funny that they're saying that that's the place where the parasite burrowed into him. It's... well... it's kind of funny. I mean... the monsters, considering what kind of mess they left in the school... yeah, she's been through quite a bit worse. Yeah, quite a bit worse. Ah, I'm just imagining that gore-filled hallway. That was certainly something quite extreme. This isn't really all that much compared to that, so... I really hope... god damn it, I really hope that this is not gonna be a really sad ending. That would be rather unfortunate to end with her dying. That would be... unfortunate, to say the least. Freaking Miracle Machine Miggy, god damn it. Okay, that was interesting, but okay, that was good enough. Yeah, pull her up. Oh! Nice. Okay. I am honestly really glad that she didn't end up dead. That's it's a deserved happy ending. Probably not, but that's of course not. Outro time. One final outro. There's something about this series that always inspires me to really interrupt it quite a bit and have a lot of long tangents of speech that extend these videos up to 40 minutes. So that's kind of ridiculous. But it honestly is a series that, while it isn't really the most philosophical and most psychologically intense, it does have interesting psychological and sociological concepts that are worth considering, and even though they are usually concepts that are the things that the show brings up are concepts that are definitely really not that they are definitely old. They are things that have been considered for quite a while. They are still things that are worth considering and pondering and talking about and conversing, because it's not impossible to have opinions about those, and there are like no real facts about these. Some things that the show brings up. So it's definitely a show that does inspire conversations, and that's certainly an aspect of it that I really grew to love during the series, and that's especially prevalent in here in this episode, because there's quite a lot of messages that the show is pushing in the the first half rather. Surprisingly enough, not in the last half, because that was a bit more intense once again, and it tried to have an ending with a minor conflict at the very end. And that's good. It's a good ending. I really do like that ending. It really caps off everything nicely. It really ties up the final loose end, which was that murderer, and has a final good send-off to Miggy. After the goodbyes, there was still one good send-off. It's all really sweet and nice. It's done quite well. I really do like it. But the show really did push quite a lot of messages in the first half. And the messages are actually things that I was not expecting the show to do, which was actually have really good messages in it. And they are uncommon, not completely unheard of messages, but they are really kind of uncommon, and it's good that they actually are being pushed like this, because they are things that are worth considering, and they do bring up quite a lot of some interesting questions about humanity and our coexistence on this planet with some organisms, and how our relationship with environment goes, and all these fun things, and as well as our predatorial nature towards each other, other species, and just in general how animalistic humanity is. And these are all concepts that are interesting to think about and converse about, so it's a good ending, and it doesn't get too preachy, in my opinion. Like, I think I'm being more preachy than the show, frankly speaking. The show is just giving few sentences, and while I'm having a paragraph of things to say about that, so. But hey, it's a good ending, because it's really somber, and it has a really mellow mood to it, and it has a very calming feeling. It is a final sense. It feels really final and finite. It feels like it just ends off really well, even though it wasn't really it didn't have all that much to do with parasites, even though that freaking psychopath had an interesting conversation in the end about the nature of humanity as monsters still, which kind of is the underlying message of the show, or theme that the show was pushing, but really wasn't really the central concept, really, in my opinion. Like, there are things to think about with the show. I just like the ending. It's a good ending episode, and really well varied as well. It's an interesting style of pacing, though, to have such a very like two very short episodes to it. Like, it's an interesting style of pacing, but it's not bad. It has a really good. It keeps the pace up without lingering on anything for too long. Perhaps slightly too rushed, but still, it's a really good ending. It really does leave me off with the series with a good feeling to it. So. Especially because of the messages and the nature of those messages, how unconventional they were, and how unlike the message that the show was originally pushing for, which is the nature of humanity as a monster. It's good. It's good. Yeah, I'm not gonna waste any more of your time here. Thank you all very much for watching. I hope to see you in the future. Have a great day. And stay awesome, and I hope you'll join me in the season or show review log in few days. Thank you all very much for watching. I hope to see you in the future. Have a great day. Stay awesome. Gunmu out. Thank you very much for watching.